Okay, yes, it's time for Home Dad.
All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of Home Dad. I'm Chip Edgar, your emasculated host, here home from work with my son Warren. Warren's with us today. 3-year-old Warren is in the house today. Warren, how you doing today, buddy? Warren, you doing all right? Yeah, there you have it. There you have it. Tearing myself away from Oprah reruns to come out into the real world and look at real humans doing real things on this April 15th. Jessica Lockhart, our engineer and producer. Jessica, did you file today? Or are you protesting the war? What are you going to do?
I usually file on the 15th, but I said, what the heck? I filed a couple days ago.
Good for you. What, on Sunday?
Yeah. You can put it in the mailbox. So anyway, yeah, I filed. I'm all set.
All right, very good. Well, we get a lot of... I wanted to talk about the happy face on the Maine State form. Like if you're going to get a refund, they have the little happy face.
Yeah, I didn't get
that. And, well, did you do your own taxes?
Yeah, I always pay. I'm
Did you see the happy face?
No, I know because I'm paying taxes.
Right, but it's right underneath.
Oh, did I see it? Yeah.
You saw the happy. You know the happy face of which I speak.
I ignored it.
It's there. You're getting a refund. There's a little happy face. But in fact, Jessica, there's no, bummed out face. What's the opposite of happy face?
The depressed.
Right. There's no sad face against the amount you owe.
I'm going to put that in next year to mine.
Well, we did it on the one that we're going to keep for our records, and it was pretty funny.
Okay.
I didn't have the frowny
one?
face on the one I sent to till wherever the
That's a great idea,
government
though.
is.
Great idea.
All right, very good, Jessica. All right, today on Home Dad, of course, we're going to be talking about targeting tomorrow's drinkers. Super Bowl ads are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the alcohol industry's spare no expense efforts to initiate the next generation of alcohol consumers. Are parents powerless? And we'll talk to Joanna Morrissey of 21 Reasons, Portland's Alcohol and Drug Awareness Coalition. That's today, Jessica, on Home Dad.
Yes.
Next week on Home Dad, the 9/11 story. Reasonable doubt? If there's one lesson Americans should have learned in the last 8 years, it's that anything and everything the government says and does is suspect. And now a group of Mainers have joined a growing international movement questioning the government's explanation for the 9/11 attacks. But if the tragedy that the powerful used to justify America's imperialist wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and to keep Americans yellow was not an act of Islamic extremists, what was it? Was that a little long, Jessica? All right, we're going to be talking to Stephen Demetrio and Steve Shaw of the newly formed Maine 911truth.org. That's next week on Home Dad, Jessica.
Next week. Okay.
It's actually pretty compelling stuff. It's not. I know before when we mentioned it, you were like, oh yeah.
Conspiracy theorists.
Building 7. How come Building 7 fell down, Jessica? How come Osama bin Laden is not on the FBI's most wanted list?
Next week on Home Dad.
All right, just asking. Frowny face. All right, very good. All right, okay. We're going to get a real ID update. A lot's been going on. A couple of weeks ago, Jessica, we had the Maine Civil Liberties Union on the show, and we were talking about, among other things, real ID. And of course, Maine is one of several states initially refusing to go along with America's Real ID initiative, the proposed national citizen identification program that some say will make us all less safe and less free. And when the Department of Homeland Security threatened to treat Mainers like terrorists unless Maine got on board, Governor Michael Baldacci quickly pleaded for more time to comply. Now Maine's legislator may vote this week on LD 2309, an act to enhance the security of state credentials, or also known as Real ID. Here in the studio with us today for an update, please welcome back to Home Dad, Chris Miller, now with Peace Action Maine. Chris, how you doing, man?
Hey, great. Thanks for inviting me in, Chip.
Well, everybody should know that you were also ran on the Democratic side for Governor Baldacci's job a couple of years ago. So You're all around. You're still in it. It's great to have you back. Tell us real quick what's going on with Real ID.
I want to give a real quick update on that. With Peace Action Maine, and Peace Action Maine is currently working on much more of a local kind of community-based approach to developing positive peace in the state. Real ID right now is the federal government taking over the state, pushing it back. What we need, the issues that we face here in this country, climate change, resource depletion, economic inequality, that sort of thing, the solutions to all of those are local. We can't just oppose war. We can't just oppose Real ID. We have to start building local communities. So Real ID is a way of locking us down and gating the communities and preventing the local sort of solutions. So right now, a couple of years back, the state legislature opposed Real ID nearly unanimously.
And why?
Because it was an infringement on Maine's sovereignty and on the protection of Maine's civil liberties and rights. I mean, there's so many different things that are wrong with this bill that I can't get into that.
But you know, the media, the so-called media, okay, they portray this thing as a way to stop illegal immigrants from getting Maine driver's licenses, number one. And the other thing, of course, is that we wouldn't be allowed on airplanes. Mainers would not be allowed on airplanes if we didn't have this identification.
That would be damned inconvenient, and that's why this bill might in fact pass at the legislature, just because of inconvenience. Our civil rights are inconvenience.
Is that what this really comes down to? I mean, what's the big objection? So what? We're going to get an ID, and everybody will know who you are, and we won't have illegal immigrants driving around with Maine licenses.
The conflation of the states in this country do not do immigration policy. They should not be saying who is an immigrant. They should not be policing immigration. Immigration is a federal issue. In fact, I would take the point of view, Peace Action takes the point of view that like a fishing license, if you're in a state a lot, you should have a driver's license. A driver's license is about competency to drive. I mean, I have a 16-year-old. I have a 95-year-old
well,
stepdad.
okay, but
they're dangerous.
But Chris, we don't have time to get into the details, but why? You know, what does the issue really come down to? Okay, I just feel like I'm getting this simplistic cover story from the TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last week the legislature passed a bill that would in fact require Maine residency for licenses. So that part's already taken off the table.
So that's not even an issue anymore.
It's not even an issue,
okay.
But they're still trying to pretend it is. So what this really is about is caving into Michael Chertoff, Department of Homeland Security. What they want to do is take every bit of data that is linked to your driver's license, which exceeds just your name and number, your driver's license number. It's everything linked to it. Health records, it includes your fishing license, for example, it includes your voting records, and all of that will be given to Homeland Security without any restrictions. Right now, the only...
Restrictions like what?
In other words, who can see it?
Okay.
You won't even know who can see it. You won't know who did look at it. There will be no rules as to who can see it. It will be just wide open.
Could the government give this information out to other people?
It's already going to corporations. It's already going to third parties, and it's all unrestricted.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is Big Brother. This is a complete data leak of everything. And if you want to, the only thing right now that's standing between your data that's kept by the state of Maine and broadcasting that, essentially, to the corporate America and to whoever wants to use it is right at this point in time is Secretary of State Dunlap, who has said personally that he's not allowing that. And that's weird. There should be statute.
So you're saying that Maine still needs to stand up and say, no, we're not going to go. What would happen then? What would happen to Mainers? What if Baldacci called Chertoff's bluff last week and said, you know what, forget you?
There are 16
Would they
to 20
really not
states.
let Mainers on planes out of the jetport?
Let's see. I'm pretty sure not Michael Chertoff, Governor Schweitzer of Montana, his approach to this is no, nope, no way, and hell no. He's not going to go along with this. So I'm looking for some fireworks on May 11th, and I think there's 16 to 20 states right now that are refusing to go along with this. So Maine should be right there with them. This is an issue of state sovereignty, and where's Governor Wallace when we need him?
Do you think that it would ever come to the point where if Maine says, you know what, we're not going along with this for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the cost that the state is supposed to endure, right?
The cost is going to end up, a driver's license will end up costing more than the passport after several layers.
It's going to cost close to $100, right, to get a driver's license, right? And but the other thing too is, would it ever come down to the Department of Homeland Security would basically put every resident of Maine on a no-fly list? Isn't that what they're talking about, right?
Aren't we already, Chip?
Well, I know. Well, I know that, all right. But I actually am going to fly sometime next month. We'll see how it goes. But you know what I'm saying? Why? I don't know. I don't know. What can we do?
I think at this point in time, there's only a little bit you can do. It's the very end of the session. MCLU has some stuff on their website that you can do. Peace Action Maine will have stuff this afternoon.
Can't we just call our legislators, though? Can't you call them up? I understand that if you call them, that somebody has to actually hand them a notice that you called.
1-800-423-6900. That's the Senate. 1-800-423-2900. That's the House. You call them and call them every day between now and the close of session. That's the best we can do right now.
And who are we talking about? Call our representative?
Your State House representative.
Our State House representative.
Your State House senator. Call the people who are in leadership in the State House. Make that point and do it not just once, but tell your friends to do it. And just Boyd Marley, who introduced this bill, walked in with a sheaf of those little yellow slips, maybe a half-inch thick, and said, "These are from my constituents," on a bill that didn't even have public notice. And he still voted for it. So we've got to put a lot of pressure on these people. And right now, that's all you can do, unless you're willing to go to Augusta and buttonhole them.
Chris Miller with the Peace Action Maine. You're on the board of directors with Peace Action Maine now, talking to us about Real ID. The legislature is supposed to talk about that this week and perhaps even pass LD 2309, an act to enhance the security of state credentials.
Thank you, Chip.
Chris Miller, thanks again, man. We'll be in touch. All right, very good, Jessica. And speaking of horror and terror and fear, that's right, it's time for Terrorist Red Alert. We'll kind of breeze right through that. Warren, what color is a caterpillar excavator? Now, what color is it, Warren? Yellow, that's right. And like a caterpillar excavator or bulldozer or loader, you should be the same color. That's right, yellow, America. Of course, we're living in a world where there's an elevated risk of terrorist attack. Orange, high risk of domestic and international flights. Terror, terror, terror. After Bush is out, and suppose for some reason, for some God-unforsaken reason, some miracle, a Democrat gets in. You know, Hillary Clinton's is teaming up with McCain to attack Obama. It's just bizarre, right? Do you think they'll get rid of the color code thing, Jessica?
I hope so.
All right, very good. All right, yellow, everybody. Now, all right, let's move on. While it was well documented that Americans' drug of choice, alcohol, is by far wreaks more havoc on society than all other drugs combined. To put it in alcoholic terms, it seems we are all in a state of denial. Warren, we have an excavator in the studio now. Our war on drugs illustrates our ambiguity and hypocrisy towards mood-altering substances. Nancy Reagan's Just Say No campaign years ago was launched at a great formal dinner party where they toasted the new program with wine. Several weeks ago, we talked to a man who was looking at jail time over the handling of legally prescribed marijuana. And Rush Limbaugh's approval is still sought by major conservative politicians, even though he's a convicted OxyContin addict. This is true. So what kind of role modeling are we providing for our children? If it isn't profitable for corporations that make money selling drugs and alcohol to do what's in the best interest of your child, as a parent, what are you going to do? Hope for the best? Our second guest today represents a coalition of individuals, organizations, and businesses that say they want to build a healthy community environment with policies, practices, and attitudes that support the drug-free development of all youth. She's the mother of two and the co-owner of Java Joe's, the old Java Joe's. Everybody remembers Java Joe's down on Exchange Street. Please welcome to Home Dad Today, Joanna Morrissey of 21 Reasons.
Why, thank you for having me. What an introduction. I think I can go home now.
Okay, well, thanks for being on the show. Next week.
Enough said.
I didn't know we were going to have such heavy construction going on in here today. Joanna, tell us really quick about what 21 Reasons is. Is that a new name for an organization that's been around for a while, right?
It is a new name for our organization. We renamed our organization because our former name, Communities Mobilizing for Change on Alcohol, seemed a little bit unwieldy and not easily remembered.
Because we've had those guys on before.
Yes, you have. My director, Erica Schmidt.
Erica Schmidt, she's been on a couple of times. Yep. Okay.
Yes.
And she's doing okay. She's a mother now.
She's a mother herself.
Okay.
A newly born Alma, beautiful little baby girl.
Right. Congratulations,
yes,
Erica.
Yes.
All right. So where do we begin on this? Okay, do we talk about all the ways that the corporations prey on our children? Do we talk about what parents really need to be doing? You know, the research that I was looking at, some of the stuff I was looking at, it talks about what parents need to do to support their children when they're trying to, make their way into being an adult.
Well, CMCA model, which is our 21 Reasons model, talks more about the entire environment. Parents are a very large factor. Law enforcement is a factor. Businesses are a factor. There are specific parent modeling behaviors that you can put on yourself. You are probably the most influential person in your child's life,
right,
as your caterpillar raising friend over there can show us. So there's a lot of...
Let me give you an example.
Sure.
What about this? Like, a lot of parents and they hold these parties for their teenagers, and they say, well, we're going to have a big party and we'll serve the alcohol and it'll all be a controlled environment and everything will be okay.
That's a pretty common myth that we hear over and over again. And there's the myth that there's the European model and that you can teach your kids to control their substance abuse drinking by training them as teenagers. But what parents probably aren't aware of is that what we now know is it is impossible for a teenager to consume alcohol responsibly. They don't have, as you may have heard about, the fully developed prefrontal cortex that prevents them from doing risky behavior, risky drinking behavior. No one knows this better than the auto insurance industry. We let our kids drive, but the auto insurance industry realizes that as a business they need to do something about that. So if you've ever tried to insure an underage driver, any driver under the age of 25 who does not have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, those insurance rates are through the ceiling.
You pay for it, right?
Oh, you pay for it.
And there was a case, wasn't there a case a couple of years ago? And in fact, this happened right after we had Erica on the show. She brought it to my attention where there was a limo driver that refused to bring these kids because they all had booze, and he brought them back. And what? The parent just about assaulted the guy, right? And threatened to sue the limo company and everything. Do you recall that?
Oh, I absolutely recall that. I was actually working in the district attorney's office as the press relations person at the time, and that was a big deal for us. It really did bring about a community forum discussion about the responsibility of parents and the role that they play in preventing their children.
But look how misinformed, right, parents can be. I mean, is this misinformation, or was this parent in this case, was this person an alcoholic and just was like, yeah, man, booze is okay.
There's a lot of misinformation out there about giving your kids alcohol and teaching them to drink. It's just not impossible. It's impossible to teach your child how to drink. We can't do that as a society. We need to set strong rules. We cannot undermine the efforts of other parents who are trying to do that for their own children. Mm-hmm. And it's a complicated issue, but there's a lot of information on our website, www.21reasons.org, and there's a whole sheet on our website about myths versus reality and the impossibility of.
Give me a myth and a reality.
Okay, one of the myths.
I like those.
One of the myths that go around quite a bit is in Europe they teach their kids how to.
Right, nobody has heart attacks in France because they're all sucking down wine all the time, right?
Well, interestingly enough, not long ago I put my Google alerts on underage drinking. Just randomly, underage drinking, Google alerts. I was getting about 20 a day about underage drinking busts, and the majority of those were coming from England and Ireland. Yep. They have a huge problem with underage drinking there, and they've got a huge problem.
Look, let's face it, England and Ireland have a huge problem with drinking, period, okay?
There's some issues there that they have in England and Ireland.
Absolutely.
And, they actually struggle with the same questions that we struggle with.
Of course. Why is everybody really so shocked to see that? It's a perfect myth, really, to look at. Well, Europe, they're all like they pop right out of the womb and they have a drink, give them a cocktail, That's bull. You've really got major problems with alcoholism in all of these countries: Germany, France, Italy.
Right. Well, according to data collected from 15 and 16-year-olds in 35 European countries, European kids actually drink more often, drink more heavily, and get more drunk than their American counterpart teens.
Well, what are we going to do about it, America, huh? We going to let them do that? Go ahead. That was in bad taste.
Well.
All right, give me another myth. Okay, so that myth is that Europe, they've got it together, they're more mature than we are, and they don't have any problems. Well, that's a bunch of bull. Okay, what's next?
Well, another popular myth is if we just give kids more things to do, they won't drink.
I see.
Yes.
You mean like chores or
Well,
video
like
games?
chores, like alternative activities. You know, like the only reason why they're drinking now is because it's
They've
fun.
got nothing to do.
It's glamorized. It's fun. It's something
Right.
that, you know, they've been taught that that's how they
All right,
have
now
a good
how
time.
is that a myth?
It's not. It is. It's a huge myth. Kids can have fun without alcohol, as
Oh, okay.
as
I see
can
what
adults.
you're saying. I see
You
what you're
don't
saying.
have to have an
Adults
alcoholic.
can't have fun without alcohol, Joe. I'm sorry.
Oh, but Chuck, we need to talk.
Chip.
Sorry. Chip, Chuck.
I get that. Chuck or Jim.
Could have been worse.
People
than-
call me Jim.
Well, you know.
So when I when
almost
I
called
tell
you
people
Bob.
my name, I say it's Chip, like potato chip, and they're like, "Huh? What are you trying to be a wise guy?" No, I just don't want you calling me Chuck or Jim, or writing that down on some form.
Well, I won't make that mistake again. Let me make a note.
All right, give me another myth. Give me another myth. Warren, turn the lights back on. You're throwing the color balance off for Bob Fisk, our Access cameraman today. There we go. Turn them both on. I think he needs that fluorescent light too, the color balance, the
You know-
cool white.
The cool white. You know, there's another myth floating around here that there's a movement afoot to actually lower the drinking age back to 18.
Right.
Some people think that would be a good idea because it would simply not make it illegal.
Okay. Why is that a bad idea? Now they did that back in the Vietnam War because, of course, they lowered the voting age and the drinking age to 18 because, of course, we were sending 18-year-olds who couldn't vote to a war they had no say over. And hell, man,
Right.
you might as well give them a couple of six-packs to deal with that.
Well, you know, in reality, the raising the drinking age up to age 21 has been one of the most successful public health policies in U.S. history.
I'm stunned.
Yes,
I'm
shocking.
stunned. It's amazing.
We saved an estimated 20,000 lives. Why would you want to reverse that?
I don't know,
I don't know.
but I'm sure people will come up with a reason. All right, give me some more. This is good.
Boy, I think I might
All right,
be running
we
out.
got Joanna Morrissey with 21 Reasons. We're talking about targeting tomorrow's drinkers and why this is really, this is really a serious issue here, folks. Joanna, one of the things that I saw was there was like this, I forget what website I was at, but they were talking about from the kids' point of view and the sort of the kids answering the question that, you know what, you need to know who my friends are. You need to know about my
Absolutely.
life, and don't think about it like, oh, you're imposing on my privacy. It shows that you care.
Absolutely, it shows you care.
Wait up for me, and if I come home late, give me hell when I come in late. It shows that you care.
Give me a hug.
You know,
By the simple fact that if your child knows that when they step through the door, no matter what time of day or night, you're going to give them
you're
a
going to
hug.
smell their breath, and
Absolutely. And it gives them an out. It gives them a skill or a tool that they can use with their friends. I'm sorry,
That's right.
I can't drink, I can't
my old
smoke.
man will kill me.
Oh, I'd be dead.
I'll be dead.
I'll be dead.
It's totally and this is the same thing in all of these sort of contexts, where kids are saying, look, be a parent. Be a parent. Be the bad guy. All right. I need that support. I need that support.
They need clear boundaries, clear barriers, clear rules. And those need to actually be reinforced both in the parents' realm, in the community realm, by law enforcement, through their schools. Parents can't do it alone. It's a big world out there. When you send your kid out, you can't be in control of every situation that they bump up against. So as you stated in your introduction, having those mixed messages really puts a challenge on our kids.
Joanna Morrissey, 21 Reasons, targeting tomorrow's drinkers here on Home Dad Today. I like the term, corporate predators. Because it's predatory the way Anheuser-Busch, to pick on them because they're the huge one, but especially the more insidious, like the vodka companies. They're making these little drinks with action figures on, it's just insidious. Some of the stuff. Can you give us some examples? Because I don't watch a lot of TV. The magazines, I don't read kids, teen magazines. Isn't that a place where they market heavily for this stuff?
Well, the industry as a whole, it has been pointed out by the Surgeon General's call to action, is they have a public responsibility because over 80 million people in the United States are not old enough to drink. It's illegal for them to consume. So when they put out those advertisements, there should be some guidelines that they should go by.
Right.
The industry should not be portraying alcohol as an appropriate rite of passage. They should not be portraying alcohol as an essential in achieving popularity or social success or part of a fulfilling life. The industry has some onus that they need to place upon themselves to do some self-policing.
And what about the publications, though? What about the publications? Okay, let's bring it home for a second. Let's pick on the Portland Phoenix, right? They have a lot of alcohol ads in the Portland Phoenix, don't they?
You know, I'll have to be honest.
I actually
with you.
don't
I haven't
know.
looked.
Okay, let's
recently.
not pick on the Portland
Let's
Phoenix.
not pick on the
But I
Portland
remember
Phoenix.
I used to work for the Casco Bay Weekly, and they used to get these full-page color ads.
Right.
And without that, they weren't going to make payroll.
You know, and you need to be clear. It's also what the ad says and how it's displayed. Is it a responsible ad? Does it have a Joe the Camel appeal to it? Or is it an adult product geared towards an adult audience? And does the periodical in which it appears, does it have more
Right.
or less than a 30% viewership for youth?
And that's it, right? How many
Absolutely.
from 25 and under? Is that the age group, 25 and under?
That you should not be targeting your advertising towards. Absolutely.
Okay. Joanne, Joe Morrissey, 21 Reasons. What do you guys got coming up? We're out of time here. You got some
wow.
events coming up. Let's hear them.
I couldn't wait for you to ask. This is National Youth Alcohol Awareness Month, and to raise awareness of these very issues that we've been talking about, we have coming up this Thursday on CTN4 at 7 o'clock, we have a contest called What's Your Reason? We put out a call for all of youth in the CTN4 viewing area to tell us in words, song, or video what keeps them drug and alcohol free, and they have responded, and you can find out what it is they have to say about that Thursday night, 7 o'clock, CTN4. Also coming up at the Cumberland Town Hall, we have our Cumberland Town Hall meeting scheduled for May 6th in the council chambers. And in the Gray New Gloucester area, same thing on May 12th at the Gray New Gloucester High School Library.
Well, Joe, what am I going to do with these things? I'm a parent. What am I going to do? Am I going to learn stuff?
You are going to learn
what's going to
stuff.
happen here?
You are going to...
Are you guys going to have a keg going? What?
Maybe some coffee. We will be joining others, like-minded individuals within our communities to talk about how we can, as a community, get together and learn about how we can address some of these very issues.
And of course, if you need to get a hold of 21 Reasons, you can also you can Google them, and they're right there. And they'll come right up on top.
www.21reasons.org.
Okay, or you can give us a email me at homedad@gwi.net, and I'll forward your information. Joanna Morrissey of 21 Reasons, thank you very much for all the work you're doing, and thanks for coming on the show.
Chip, for having us.
Chip. Like potato chip.
Like potato chip.
All right, that's it for today's show, Jessica. Next week, the 9/11 story. Reasonable doubt? All right, hey, what do we want to promote? Wasn't there something that coming up this weekend, Jessica, that we wanted to mention real quick on the 19th? Are we having our own little torch run right here in Portland?
Yeah, it's is it Saturday, April 19th at noon at Congress Square. Support the Human Rights Torch Relay.
Right here in Portland. All right, check it out this Saturday, the 19th. This program is produced live at WMPG Radio 90.9 and 104.1 FM at the University of Southern Maine at Portland. It was video recorded for cable TV on Community Television Network channels 2 and 4 by Bob Fisk. Thank you, Bob. All right, and edited by Ray Tiley. Thank you, Ray. Jessica Lockhart is our engineer. Home Dad is produced and hosted by me. I'm Chip Edgar. Thanks for listening. Danny's up next with Caribbean Flavor. Impeach George Bush, for goodness sake. And remember, spend time with your kids. It's a one-shot deal.